All right, we're recording. All right, so we can get into it. All right, so a few people not here, but this is the smallest challenge we've ever done. I used to run these a lot. I've done a couple where I had like over 100 people do them. And always great results. But the bigger the group, it's just like CrossFit class. The bigger the group, the more it kind of becomes um crowd control and just orchestrating versus actually like individualized. So I kind of lay it out for people to play it out, but then they've got to kind of take a lot of initiative themselves. So the size of this group and the fact that again our schedule is pretty jammed, so we usually outsource it to some of our coaches, but just don't repeat this. We do a better job. So what it ends up being when I outsource it is I end up like having to go over and look at what they're doing, and it's more work for me anyways. But we had somebody that was going to be doing this, and she moved, and she just couldn't commit to it. And I'm like, fuck it, all right, Jen and I'll do it. And then seeing the size of it, pretty excited about it because it's going to be a lot. It'll be a lot more personalized than really any others that we've done. I know we didn't promote it that much, um, but I think that might have been a little bit of a blessing in disguise because we've got 11 participants, which means we're going to really get to know each of the 11 people and their specific goals versus, okay, here's a healthy way to eat. Here's a couple of weekly challenges. Do it or don't. That's your fucking prerogative. So I think it's going to be a really cool 8 weeks. The goal whenever we do these things is to ease in. If we hit the ground running too hard, it'll be unsustainable. There's like so many expressions, but the flame that burns twice as bright lasts half as. If I took somebody with poor lifestyle habits and I just gave them an immediate macronutrient regimen and I gave them a tutorial on my fitness pal and I made them start documenting every single meal they did 7 days a week, no alcohol, no whatever their vices may be, cake, sugar, candy, whatever. And they worked out, marginally, and I now made them come 5 days a week. That's not going to last. The goal of this is to develop a healthy understanding of food, fitness, the balance of the two, depending on what your goals are. Ease into it and ramp it up over the course of 8 weeks so that by the 8 week mark, you're you're now honed in and you've got habits that'll last beyond that. The goal of this is not for you to have a radical lifestyle change in the next 8 weeks and look forward to a big pizza party and then go back to old ways at week 8. That's not how I know that's the way some challenges have worked over the years with other gyms or other styles. That's not how mine go. So that's the goal. And then thinking about every time we've done a challenge, we've tweaked it a little bit, changed it a little bit. We throw in some fun things. So the 11 participants will have some opportunities to meet each other. We've got people in this group that I know right off the rip have never worked out with some of the other people in the group. Um, and do some kind of like group cohesion type things because this is a group challenge. We'll feed off each other's successes and we'll reward that along the way. Some various prizes that Jen and I will provide through the gym, some services we'll provide through the gym. And the way that those things will work is I will present a basically a checklist every week. I'll present it at the beginning of the week. So this upcoming Sunday or earlier, I might do it tomorrow. I might do it Saturday, whenever I have time. I'll present like here's week one's challenges. Here's what's expected of you. You could meet all of it. You could meet half of it, but whatever it is you meet, you check off those lists. You total up your points, and then the prizes won't they're not guaranteed to be the point winners because there will be people that will do perfect every week. There'll be people that fall off some weeks, but then come back. So we'll kind of look at the grand scheme of things to keep the motivation going when it comes to the prizes. We've learned that the hard way where it was like, all right, we won a few years back where it was like some of the stuff was you got a point for PRs and you got a point for classes and you got a point for there were just like points for a lot of different things that when we had at different prizes included free memberships. We had people coming in and putting like 1 pound plates on the barbell and doing like really abstract lifts. It was like, oh, well, I had a 1 pound PR split snatch. I'm like, all right, that doesn't really count. Like, come on now. So we're not going to incentivize it so much where the points guarantee prize. The real prize is going to be your lifestyle change. So we'll go over the macros tonight, whether you got measured on the in body yet or not. You can do that at your own convenience. You just come in, take your socks off, get yourself measured up on that. But the most important thing that, I mean, it'll tell you your weight, but it'll also tell you your body composition. And your body composition is really important to know for your macronutrient calculation. Whether you decide you want to go with the macros or not, to be totally frank, that's the best way to get your fitness goals achieved is to uh, calculate your macros and to adhere to the macro prescription and eat them in a good way to schedule throughout the day, which we'll go over tonight. But a lot of people do have some eating disorders, just some phobias, just some anxiety, some bad relationships with food. That measuring really puts them over the edge. So you don't have to do that. But if you have the mental capacity to do that, that is how you'll see the best results. Measuring food at the end of the day, that's good. That whether you want to maintain, gain, or lose, that's going to be the best road to success. So we'll go over that tonight. What you do with it is up to you over the next 8 weeks. And again, there'll be the checklist that I give each week will increase. So week one is not going to be, oh, did you measure all 4 meals a day over the course of all 7 weeks and it's an all or nothing point spread. It's not going to be like that, which we'll go over now, but it'll ramp up over the course of the 8 weeks so that you get a healthy relationship with food. The other thing it'll do, and in actually going over this challenge, it reminded me that I've got to formulate it for the last challenge group. They never reached out to me. We'll end up creating a recipe book. That's one of the biggest things people have questions with is like, well, what do I actually make? So if Kat ends up making a breakfast that Paul didn't think of, and on our Facebook group she posts her breakfast with her macronutrient values and a brief description of how to make it. Now Paul's got some inspiration for a new breakfast. Manuka makes a lunch that turns out to be pretty healthy. It meets these macro requirements, and Whitney's out of ideas. So what the Facebook group really becomes, in addition to the accountability. Sure, this is a really unique group because it's so small. We can do a text message thread, which we'll definitely keep that to business hours. We're not going to have that thing going off at 10 p.m. or 5 a.m. And it'll mostly be like communication coming from Jen and I. We don't want it to just be small talk because then things will get lost. But what the Facebook group ends up becoming is like a full recipe, cookbook, but and like, wow, there's a word I'm thinking of, like database. It ends up becoming that. So you can like look back over the course of 8 weeks and see 100 different meals, how to make them, and their macro calculations. So that's basically the way things will go. To keep things fun, Jen came up with this idea last time. And it wound up being like just a really fun thing that got amazing feedback, was just the regularly learn and play new sports. So we'll do a line dancing day, we'll do a yoga class, we'll do a martial arts day, we'll do a rugby day. And it's just a fun way to get together and do something different than clean snatches, kettlebell swings, and burpees. So points will be established on the things that I give out and build off that each week. Oh, another thing, this particular challenge Jen wanted to do, we never really did this. We always kind of, all right, what's the goal here? The goal is to get fit, is to get good at CrossFit. And that is like such a blanket statement, but in getting good at CrossFit, that means that all the T's get crossed, all the I's get dotted. So you think you're good at CrossFit, but all of a sudden you're good on Monday, you're good on Tuesday, you're bad on Wednesday. Why are you bad on Wednesday? It was snatch day. Well, why are you bad at snatching? You forgot to work on your mobility. Well, within this challenge, we do points for mobility work as well as just workouts. You'll get points for, hey, come in and do 30 minutes of stretching with somebody. Or, all right, you were good on Monday, you were good on Tuesday, you sucked on Wednesday. Why'd you suck on Wednesday? Well, Monday and Tuesday were heavy. Wednesday was all calisthenics, and you're carrying around an extra 20 pounds. Let's get the diet in check. Let's lose that 20. Or you were good on Monday, good on Tuesday, sucked on Wednesday. What was that? Monday, Tuesday were light. Wednesday was heavy. You need to put on muscle mass. We need to gain some weight. So if you look at fitness and you say, okay, I want to do this. I want to lose weight. I want to gain weight. You can be really like hard on yourself. If you look at fitness and you say, I want to get good at CrossFit, and then you just figure out what you need to do to get good at CrossFit, and that becomes your goal, then the six pack just happens. The mobility just happens. The body composition, the strength, capacity. It just happens under the blanket goal of getting good at CrossFit. But so the goal of the challenges have always been to do just that. But one thing Jen kind of thought of with this, which I was a little bit reluctant, just because I know what's involved with individual programming and in actual goal accomplishment. And if we did have 30, 40, 50 people sign up, we wouldn't have been able to do it. But seeing that there's 11 people signed up, we'll actually be able to do this. Is we want to have goals that you guys want. So it might be to gain 10 pounds, it might be to lose 10 pounds, it might be to get, and we're more, and those were the first two I came up with just because they're usually what people think of with nutrition. But maybe it's a first handstand push-up, maybe it's a first double under, maybe it's in the conversation is goal establishment will be, where are you at and what's a realistic goal. If you can't kick up into a handstand, then it's not it's not a realistic goal yet to do a handstand push-up. Our first step is, let's get the handstand. Small attainable goals. If we don't know a kip rhythm, our goal is not a toe to bar. Our goal is 5 unbroken hanging knee raises in rhythm, and then we'll build from there. But figure out where our lifts are, figure out where our gymnastics are, figure out where our capacity lies, and make some fitness related goals throughout the course of this challenge. And Jen and I will be able to help program for them. Like, I can speak to one person specifically. I was like, hey, this is a challenge that'll really help with you. So Paul's mentioned that he's got a 3, 4, 500 goal in mind. He wants to bench 300, squat 400, deadlift 500. And I'm like, okay, that's going to require a decent amount of like programming, and that's going to require some feedback. This is an opportunity to do that. I'm going to be able to write him some stuff and say, all right, this week I want you to do blah, blah, blah. So if we had 40 people doing this challenge, wouldn't be able to give that kind of feedback. But with 11 people doing that challenge, we can help. So that's going to be something we're going to roll into this challenge that we haven't done before, that I'm pretty excited about, only doable because of the lower numbers. I think that kind of wraps up the challenge before I actually get into the macronutrient calculations and that nitty gritty, which is decently simple. But does anybody have any questions about like the challenge over the next 8 weeks? All right, let me rephrase
If I
that.
have, sorry, if I have a specific goal I want to work on, should I just like text you separately?
So we're gonna release all that. So in the week, that'll all be in the weekly things. We'll put the template, and everybody will have their own column. Again, with only 10 people, it's
Okay,
so much
got it.
simpler than previous years, previous challenges. Like, again, last year we had like, I think 60 to start. The year before that, like, no, I think it was like 4 years ago when we first took over here from when it was no risk. We had over 100 people do it. So it's like then people get lost in the shuffle. But there's only 11 of you. So when we do the weekly tabs, we'll probably do, and we're gonna refine this. There'll be so much communication.
I'd like to create like an individual template for each person where you can like record. A big piece is like people don't know how much can you clean. That's the problem.
I have it written down on my phone somewhere.
But like people don't off the cuff know what their one reps are. Like they should be like focusing on what they're doing, learning how to CrossFit, learning all that stuff, and then you can make a goal from there. Like if I said to you, what's your goal for cleans, you'd be like, I don't know. Like, you know,
just throw out a random number.
I'd like to make a document or a template or whatever with Ray's help, like of like just your basic lifts, not every single lift is too many, but like front squat, back squat, press, deadlift.
Well, I'll just tell you right now. So so there was a poster. I don't think it's still up, and it was a very simplified version of something that I've elaborated on. But there's proportionality to all the lifts that's widely accepted in the international weightlifting, all the federations, and in the sport of CrossFit, powerlifting, all of it. So the back squat's kind of the foundation of it. So you should be able to clean and jerk 80% of your back squat. You should be able to snatch 65% of your back squat. You should be able to deadlift 125% of your back squat. You should be able to front squat 95% of your back squat, and you should be able to clean, which 80% ends up equaling this 90% of that. So your 3-rep front squat, you should be able to split jerk 110% of your clean. You should be able to strict press 50% of your back squat, push press 30% more than that, and then push jerk 10% more than that, and split jerk 30% more than your push press, and all those numbers I have like in a sheet. So if you look and you're like, wait, here's my back squat, here's what my other numbers should be. It's a table of proportionality. You can kind of see where you're at. And it's like, okay, I think I need to do a squat program. And when you actually see it all written out, it's like, no, actually your squat's up here. Your strict press is down here. You don't need a squat program. You need a press program. Or your press is up here, your squat's down here. Okay, you need a squat program. Or your squat's up here, your press is up here, but your snatch and your jerks are down here. You don't need to get any stronger. You need to get athletic and figure out how to catch the bar to measure up to your strength. So, Jen just put that idea in my, this is stuff I work with all my personal training clients on. All my competitors, this is like our holy grail. This is like, we don't ever work our strengths. We just work our weaknesses. But I'll introduce that for you guys, and that'll not only show you where your goals should be, what you should be working on, but also it'll give you a baseline of what you can kind of anticipate if you have no idea where you're at with some lifts. But we can definitely do that. So we'll make individual tabs, but in the weekly thing, just as a reminder, there'll be short-term goals and long-term goals. So what is your goal this week? It might be your first double under. It might be just run for a half an hour because you never run and you avoid it, blah, blah, me. But we'll come up with short-term goals. We'll come up with long-term goals. And learning, and that might be some of the other things, test out lifts, because as Jen just mentioned, we can't have a goal of where we want to go if we don't even know where we're at. So how can we have a back squat goal of lifting a certain weight if we don't know where we're at? So establishing baselines is most certainly a part of that. So yeah, Kat, it'll all be mapped out as to how we can track those goals. Everybody else has to ask at least one question. And if another one comes up to Kat can ask another question. So somebody else ask a question.
Everything's clear as mud, right?
What's
Doesn't
that?
matter how
Everything's clear as mud.
what app we use.
We use MyFitnessPal.
Clear as
Paul, ask something. Ask a question.
as far as measurements go, what are we supposed to be measuring? Like when
So yeah. So the in-body scanner has
Yep.
a little bit of variance. The calipers have a little bit of variance. And so we don't even really use those. Those things are hard. So I was trained on those in college. But the skin fold calipers, like they measure subcutaneous fat, but they don't take into account a lot of variables. So that's why we don't use them. If anybody ever heard of like a skin fold test, it's like the Jackson Pollock 4-point test. There's a lot of variance to that. Women have more variance than guys. Guys usually carry fat in their bellies, but guys typically don't have boobs. And just the way women carry weight on the side of their hips, it's really inconsistent, and it can like, what's that? Did somebody say something? Oh, so anyways, the way a skin fold caliper works is, Jen, come here. Just, we don't do this, but just so you know, if you ever hear people doing this. So it's this little device and it looks like this, and it's got a little meter on it. So one of the points is the navel. So you would measure out here and it kind of hurts. You squeeze with your fingers,
Okay.
and then the calipers go over the top and would measure this. So that would be Jen's fat. Now, people do this wrong. So human error is a huge part of this test. If I did this, now I have a drastically different read. I didn't grab all of the fat. And it also is kind of a personal thing. If people have body issues, all of a sudden I'm sitting there grabbing at their shit. And so you go with the navel, you go with the suprailiac, you go with the thigh, and you go with the tricep. That's to assume there's 4 points that people carry fat. Women can hide a lot of weight in their breasts. It doesn't take into account the glutes or the butt or the side of the hip, which especially women can have a lot of weight there. So you put in on that calculation height, weight, age, gender, and then those 4 points. And there's just so much variance. And then once somebody crosses over like 25% body fat, how you're grabbing it is like really inconsistent. So we don't even do that. We go with the in-body scanner, which you're supposed to do with an empty, that works off of electronic resistance as it flows through your body. And that thing's like $14,000. It works some magic that's decently accurate, but you're supposed to have an empty stomach, because if you have a stomach full of fluid, it'll work against the accuracy of the resistance that the electricity is going through your body with. The other thing is you're not, excuse me, you're not supposed to have just worked out. So I think Skip might have done it after we worked out. You guys have full access to it. So if you want to do it again, but after you work out, your muscle activation is higher. So your electronic conductivity is higher. So that can throw off some of that data. But either way, that gives a picture, and that's much more accurate than skin fold. The measurements, we measure the circumference of your neck, circumference of your arm. You go from the acromion process to the olecranon process. You go halfway down, and then that's where you measure from. The shoulders, which when you're standing there in front of me, the widest part of your shoulders that I can see.
1 second.
Wrap around that. Then the chest, that's at the nipple line. Then the navel or the abdomen, we do that against the belly button. Then the hips, you go from the side and look at the biggest part of the glute, and you measure across that. Thigh, I go with 2 parts of the thigh, from the femoral head to the knee, halfway there in the middle, or I do both of them, like go like floss all the way up as high as it'll go and measure, just because that one, if you go to remeasure and you're off by like an inch, it'll give a drastically different number. And then the calf. So the reason for this, Paul, is there's inconsistencies to all of it. So we're not going to get a perfect picture, but between the in-body, between the points we go ahead and measure on the measurements and a before picture, come 8 weeks from now, we'll have a decent amount of data to say, all right, we've made changes, we haven't made changes. So that's what measurements are.
Gotcha.
Manuka asked something.
Are we supposed to get this measurement?
Yeah, so that was what Jen and I were here doing tonight. Again, if we had like 50
I
people,
went looking for you afterwards.
I'm
she
sorry.
said you were here doing the in-body.
Yeah, I thought that was it.
Next time, nothing's really going to change in the next few days. So the next time you see us, just grab us. It takes about 5 minutes. I don't know exactly how long it takes, about 5 minutes. I understand that before pictures or any pictures are very personal. So for security and your own peace of mind, we take those on your phone. It's not like I'm gonna sit there with pictures of you. You're gonna want to be in something that is revealing. I don't want to tell you to wear underwear, but if you're wearing black spandex, that will hide everything. You won't see anything when you're doing that. And obviously, if you're comfortable with me, cool. But if you'd rather a female, and if a female here would rather a female take the pictures, by all means. But the before and after pictures really do help, because maybe the scale doesn't change, maybe the body composition doesn't change too much, maybe the measurements don't change too much, but you notice that your jeans are fitting a lot differently, and you see a picture of yourself and you're like, okay, that really changed. So that's why we want to collect as much data as we can. Yeah. So next time you see us in class, for anybody who missed any of the measurements, next time you see us in class, either Jen or myself, just grab us measurements for you.
Sure.
Whitney, ask me something. Whitney, you're muted.
Got it. I don't have a question. I'm sorry.
It's all right. I'm just doing an awesome job explaining then, right? All right, Tammy.
You do the in-body scan.
All right, I do have a question.
So a question back here from Kayla. How often would I recommend doing the in-body scan? I wouldn't recommend doing anything more than once a week. You'll obsess over it. You're not like again, there's so much variance in that stuff. Like how hydrated you are, how dehydrated you are. Like if I were to say more of a frequency, I wouldn't say more than once a week. I would say do it twice in a day. Do it in the morning and do it in the evening, just to see if there's a variance there because of how your workout or what's in your belly or what your hydration levels might have changed. Because if you do it on Monday morning, Tuesday night, Wednesday afternoon, Thursday morning, Friday evening, you're going to see different things that are not an actual indication of physiological changes, just circumstantial changes throughout that day. So I wouldn't do it more than once a week. But if you want to see a swing, if you want to see like consistency in the machine, versus your body changes throughout the course of the day, and you want to come do it twice in a day, by all means, you guys can use it whenever you want. But don't come in every day and obsess over it. That's not going to do your mental health any favors. You're not changing drastically day to day. Tammy, you got any questions?
I do.
What you
Couple.
got?
I got a couple.
That's-
Accountability. So in the past, I've done many of these challenges with you and with others in the past. And being that they were always such large groups, the accountability pot always kind of like dropped off because you had a coach that had way too many people and they couldn't do that. I'm a type of person that I need accountability. I need somebody to kick my ass. So I'm just wondering if that's going to be part of this plan that, like Jen, you're going to text me and say, did you gym today?
Texting all you motherfuckers. There's 11 of you. There's
I know.
2 of us. Like you ain't disappearing. When
Okay.
we have 60 people, and I'm like, oh well, John Doe is 86. Oh, he's gone. Like, sorry, you wasted your money. I have tried my darndest to incentivize you, but I cannot make. I have brought the horse to water. No, Tammy, don't worry. We gonna find you.
Thank you. So that's question number one. Question number two, as you know, I do travel a lot for work. And
Don't care.
I know what I'm saying
Don't
is
care.
I would
Accountability.
accountability. I would love to tap into a Ray or Jen like program planning for hotel gyms, like a boot camp type thing. Say, hey, Tammy Lynn, this is what you're gonna do this week when you're in Dallas, or this is what you're gonna do when you're in LA.
Yep, we can work with
Thank
that.
you. Okay, those are my 2 questions because that's really what I'm hoping.
Yep, we can work with that.
Thank you.
Corey, brother Skipper, you got any questions?
I do not have any question, but I will be on vacation for 4 days, so I think maybe a personal workout or just.
So that could be a goal on its own. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what your vacation is going to entail, but hey, here's my goal: is I don't know. Like Jen and I are going to Wadapalooza for Miami for Wadapalooza, and it's like it can be very easy to like all of a sudden like, hey, 5 days went by and like didn't work out. But like set a goal for yourself. No, like here's our schedule. Like we're gonna make it at least twice. We're gonna maybe do one hotel workout and one drop in a gym workout. Like set a goal and we'll help you with the programming and figure out what to do.
Sounds good. Rock on.
All right. So if there's no other questions about the general challenge, then we'll talk about macronutrients.
We got 10 minutes or else after your meeting.
Oh, all right. Well, they give us 40 minutes.
40. You talk a lot. I love you.
Hey, all right. Here's macronutrients 101. You've got 3 macronutrients. You got protein, carbohydrates, and fat. You need all 3 of them. Okay. And there's a recipe that is going to make your engine work. Okay. Just like a car engine needs 18 parts of oxygen for every 1 part of gasoline. If it doesn't have that ratio, it doesn't work. You put nothing but gas in a motor, it won't work without oxygen. Put nothing but oxygen in a motor, it won't work without gas. It needs a ratio. Your body works off of a ratio if you want athletic performance. The paleo stuff, okay, you could lose weight if all you ate was cheesecake, if you ate less calories than you burn. You would gain weight in muscle if you ate nothing but steak, but you're going to shortchange the micronutrients that your body needs and the processes that your body needs to go through, the hormones it needs to develop, if you don't have an even spread of the macros and the ratios that work for you. And this is just the way every athlete eats. So this is like really condensed, and by all means, if we have more questions about this later, grab me. The golden rule is you're going to eat for your lean body mass, right? Because most people want to lose weight, and you're not eating for the 200-pound person you are. You're eating for the 150-pound person you could be if you're 50 pounds overweight. So in everybody, there is a lean body, and that's who we're focusing on. So when you do your in-body scan, you look at your lean body mass. It is generally accepted that you eat your lean body mass in grams per day of protein. So if you are 110 pounds, but you're 20% body fat, that means that your lean body mass is going to be somewhere around 90 pounds. So you are going to eat around 90 grams of protein per day. Now, that is if you want to maintain or lose weight. You're eating for your lean body mass, not for what you weigh. Your fat intake should be about half of that. So when you look at your lean body mass, that is your protein intake in grams per day. When you look at that, divide that by 2, that is your fat intake in grams per day. So hypothetically, your lean body mass is 100 pounds. You're going to eat 100 grams of protein per day. You're going to eat 50 grams of fat per day. And then for carbohydrate, that's your energy source. You should eat that in response to how active your lifestyle is. If you work a sedentary job and you don't work out at all, then you're going to, which is nobody here, you wouldn't change that much from your lean body mass. You would stick around 100, 110 grams of carbohydrate per day. For most people in this group, you work an ordinary job, you get up, you move, you walk to your car, you walk into work. You're not a fitness employee, but you get up, get down, you move around throughout the course of the day, and you come to the gym 4 to 6 days a week for about an hour. You would take that and you'd multiply it by 1.5. So you are 100 pounds of lean body mass. You eat 100 grams of protein per day. Divide that by 2. You have 50 grams of fat per day. You work out 5 or 6 days a week for an hour. You just move around throughout the day. Multiply it by 1.5. You're going to have 150 grams of carbs per day. At the highest level, an athlete who's in very competitive training, we don't need more protein. We don't need more fat. We need more carb. You would multiply it by 2. And then somewhere in the middle, if you maybe you work a bit more of an active job, maybe you're a construction worker and you work out 5 or 6 days a week for an hour. Maybe you work a regular job, but you work out 5 or 6 days a week. And several of those days you're doing double sessions, you're doing Olympic lifting and you're doing CrossFit class. So you could maybe take it up to 1.7, 1.8. So that would mean you were doing 170, 180 grams of carbohydrate per day. Again, going off the 100-pound lean body mass formula. So again, take your lean body mass, that's grams per day of protein. Divide that by 2, that's grams per day of fat, and multiply it by 1.5 to 2. 2 would mean you are training like Reese and Sydney, 5, 6 days a week, several hours a day, compete. They should have 2 times their lean body mass in grams per day of carbohydrate. Most people is 1.5. Use your best judgment to go between 1.5 and 2, depending on your level of physical output. If you have questions on this, by all means, I'll repeat any of this. I didn't realize I'd be under such a time crunch. What we want to get these food sources from are as natural as possible. So if it flies, crawls, swims, grows out of the ground, eat it. If it is made up of things you cannot pronounce, put it back. If you could leave it in the cupboard for a year and come back to it and eat it, put it back. There's obviously exceptions to that. The whole supplement market is full of preservatives, not natural. I take stuff that you can't pronounce. It's fine. But what I mean is, on the back of a package of Skittles, there's shit you can't pronounce. An apple is natural. So when you're trying to get your carbohydrates in, an apple is better than Skittles. We already know that, right? So trying to keep it to the natural foods, the meats, proteins, vegetables, fruits, as opposed to the aisles of the grocery store, right? Keep it to the produce and the meat section as opposed to the aisles. Again, there's tons of good stuff in the aisles. There's tons of shit in it, but those are general guidelines. I didn't mean to cut this part so short. We're about to get shut off. I will put up more about that, but what you need to do in the next few days to get ready for Sunday, before I end up coming out with the checklist for Sunday, think of whatever questions you may have, post them away in the group, and you need to go shopping with a goal list in mind of natural stuff: eggs, fish, chicken, steak, lean pork, broccoli, asparagus, fucking potatoes, whatever the hell. Just load it up with fruits, vegetables, and dead animals. Unless you're a vegetarian, then find some other shit. But load it up with that so that when we start to make some foods, you have things to work with. All right. And if you've got any questions, by all means, just comment in or post in that Facebook page, and I will get them answered as soon as possible. Does anybody have any immediate questions right now before we get shut off?
Just really quick, is MyFitnessPal still the best option to track macros?
Yes. My Fitness Pal. That would have been something we would have gone over tonight. Yes, My Fitness Pal. So download that app. We're going to wean into it. Again, we're not going to hit the ground on Monday with you weighing out everything, scoring everything. That's not how we're going to roll with it. It's too overwhelming for people. If you already know how and you're already ready to hit the ground running with that, great. But that's not going to be mandated and scored right off the rip. We're going to ease into that. But yes, we will work with My Fitness Pal. That's the easiest, most user-friendly app.
Does it have to be my fitness pal?
It doesn't have to. If you have another one you use, by all means. By all means. Yep, does not have to be My Fitness Pal. Any other questions? All right, well, if anything comes to anybody, post in that group. We will come out with the week's checklist. And the most important thing, we're excited to get this going with y'all. Small group, which means a lot of attention, and we're going to see some awesome results out of everybody.
Thank you.
Joining tonight,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, thank you.
Why does it keep every time somebody exits?